All right, hello everyone. Happy Thursday and welcome to our next rendition of our 15-minute breakdown. This month we are focusing on 5 consumer trends all CPG marketers need to know. So because we only have 15 minutes, I will jump right in and get us started. So the first is everyone's favorite question. The recording and slides will be in your inbox shortly after the session today. So make sure to keep an eye out for those. Also, you can log back at any time. If you do log out within the next 15 minutes, you can log back in if it's within 15 minutes with that same link that has been in your inbox and your calendar hold. We also have 2 great resources from Tinuiti in our handout section, a Reddit guide, and also our big bets for 2023. So take a look at those. You toggle over from chat to handouts. Also, as many of y'all have already, join our chat, introduce yourselves, let us know where you're tuning in from. I'm hosting today from a very warm Philadelphia. I think it's going to be almost 90 today, which is crazy for April. You also can drop in questions for Andy that he'll get to at the end in the chat as well. Also, make sure to join our poll questions. We have one we'll get to in a moment, and another if you're interested in talking with our teams after the session today. I'll also introduce myself. My name is Carrie Mallett. I'm a content strategist at Tinuiti, and I'll be hosting the webinar today. So a little about Tinuiti, for those who may not be familiar. At Tinuiti, we've mastered the media that matters most. Tinuiti is the largest independent performance marketing firm across streaming TV and the triopoly of Google, Facebook, and Amazon. At Tinuiti, we understand that success requires both strategy and channel specialization. That approach wins us awards and recognition across the industry, such as the American Business Stevie Awards and the Shorty Awards, and allows us to grow some amazing clients like those that you see here. All right, I'm going to turn it over to our fantastic Andy Taylor to introduce himself.
Thanks so much, Carrie, and thank you all for joining me today. Andy Taylor here, VP of Research at Tinuiti, responsible for keeping tabs on all of the trends and insights related to the more than $3 billion we have in media under management annually at Tinuiti, as well as the survey-based studies that we put out regularly, surveying thousands of consumers on topics that are relevant to the brands we work with. And that's really what I'll be focusing on today, is the results of the most recent study we put out, which is called the 2023 CPG Customer Journey Report, Rapid Evolution and How Consumers Discover and Purchase Day-to-Day Essentials. And today I'll just be diving through some of the high-level takeaways, including how pandemic-boosted channels are set to slow, the importance of social in driving CPG product discovery, how influencers are playing into that social media space, the battle between Amazon and Walmart, and how that's shaking out across different product categories, as well as what consumers are looking for when it comes to ad relevance for CPGs.
All right, so Andy has a great lineup of content to get to in just 15 minutes. And so we quickly want to hear from you all. Where do you spend the most media dollars? Is it in paid social? Is it in retail media networks? Is it paid search, television ads, or streaming? Or if it's something else entirely, let us know in the chat. So that poll is live right now. Again, if you toggle over from chat to polls, you'll be able to answer. And looks like most of our audience is saying paid social. Oh, continues to take the lead. Which makes a lot of sense, especially these days. So good thing is we'll get into all of those trends, and so I will hand it over to Andy.
Thanks so much, Carrie. So like I said, we recently created this study, and it's based on actually 3 unique surveys surveying consumers on their food and beverage, over-the-counter health, and beauty product habits, how they discover, research, and ultimately purchase those products. And if you take a look at the report after this session, you'll find that there's actually 3 unique tracks for each one of those product categories where we dive deep into the customer journeys within each, as well as an overall track to help you compare between categories. And so with that, I'll dive right into that first topic that I mentioned, which is that we do expect pandemic-boosted channels to slow over the coming year. And, how we got to this conclusion was asking respondents to give us a sense for whether they expected to do the following activities more or less or the same over the next year. And looking at activities like buying CPG products online, using buy online, pickup in store, using a delivery service for these types of products, a higher share of respondents said that they were going to do these activities less over the coming year than said that they were going to do it more. Probably the best example of this is particularly in the use of delivery services. At least 35% of respondents in all three surveys said that they would use delivery services for these product categories less over the coming year. Compare that to less than 20% of respondents for each product category saying they would use these services more. And it's clear that those pandemic boosted channels, when folks were forced to buy online, pickup in store, or use delivery services for these day-to-day essentials. Now that we're in the post-max vaccination era, a lot of consumers are looking to get back closer to their pre-pandemic consumption habits. And so, as you're looking ahead and trying to plan for how big, channels like delivery services might be for your brands, we do expect that they probably will grow a lot less in the coming year than we did during the heights of the pandemic, obviously. Now, next, I want to dive into that second topic, which is that social has become hugely important to CPG product discovery. Now, in the case of all three product categories studied, social ranked very highly, if not the highest, in terms of which channel folks were most likely to discover new products that they later went on to purchase. In the case of food and beverage and over-the-counter health products, social media was second only to television in terms of discovering these new products, while in the case of beauty shoppers, social actually far eclipsed television as it relates to new product discovery. So certainly great to see in that poll that social media ranks so highly for investment, because this is becoming a hugely important channel to getting new products in front of consumers. Now, in terms of which platforms within the social media landscape are the most important, certainly across the board, Facebook was the most important when you look at the entire swath of respondents across all three surveys, outstripping TikTok and Instagram. But these shares are very different when you look at younger generations. And to kind of prove that out, if we take a look at just the Gen Z respondents within each one of these product categories, you can see that Facebook lags both TikTok and Instagram in product discovery for all three product categories. And particularly in the case of beauty, TikTok far outstrips Facebook, 48% to 7%, in terms of which social media platform these Gen Zers are most likely to discover those new products on. So as you're kind of creating that comprehensive social media plan, make sure you're understanding, what types of customers you're hoping to reach and which platforms are most influential on those customer journeys for those types of customers. Now, another key part to developing a strong social media strategy is figuring out an influencer strategy. And we wanted to get to the bottom of really how influential influencers really are. And the short answer is vary. We asked respondents had they bought these types of products based on the recommendation of an online influencer over the last year. The share was highest. The share who said yes was highest for beauty, with 70% of respondents saying they had purchased a product based on an online influencer recommendation, but still very high at 59% for over-the-counter health and 60% for food and beverage. And it's clear that influencers are playing a crucial role in product discovery. And when a lot of folks think about social media strategy and brand voice on social media, they might immediately think to brand accounts and how brands are communicating directly with followers on social media. But when we ask respondents, do they actually follow brands within these product categories on social media, no more than fewer than half said that they had in all three of these product categories, and the highest share was 41% on beauty. So long story short, influencers are more likely to reach your consumers than your actual brand accounts in a lot of different situations. So when you're thinking about your brand's presence on social media, influencers are becoming an important mouthpiece and an important connector to those consumers. So make sure you're kind of seeking out those voices that are going to help you connect with consumers and move the needle for your brand. Fourth, I want to pivot over to a totally different conversation, which is how Amazon and Walmart are competing for CPG customers. And we wanted to get a sense for how consumers view these two giants. Obviously, Amazon, e-commerce giant, Walmart, huge brick and mortar presence. We wanted to get a sense for how they, really how consumers viewed these two when it came to their day-to-day essential purchases. And when we asked what app or website they're most likely to start a product search on, we got very different results depending on the product category. In the case of beauty, Amazon far outstripped Walmart. In the case of food and beverage, the exact opposite, where Walmart was, way ahead of Amazon in terms of what share of respondents would most likely start their searches on it. In the case of over-the-counter health, these two were dead even in a tie for first as the most common website or app they'd start a search on. And so I think the takeaway here is that depending on your product category, you're really going to want to take a look at, which websites are most important to that customer journey, especially as you're thinking about things like your retail media plans and how much you might be investing on different platforms. A second aspect of this is, understanding the full value of those types of investments, particularly for food and beverage purchases, which may end up happening offline in brick and mortar stores. You need to have a plan in place for understanding that brick and mortar value that you're driving with those ads. And then kind of lastly, I think a major takeaway here is that in the case of all three of these product categories, both Amazon and Walmart are both hugely important to a lot of consumers. And so while a lot of folks might hear retail media and their mind would immediately go to Amazon as the biggest retail media network, particularly for these day-to-day essential purchases, both Amazon and Walmart are crucial to the customer journey. And so make sure you're expanding your mindset to also include other major retail media networks like Walmart. And lastly, I wanted to touch on what CPG customers are really looking for in terms of ad relevance. Obviously, over the last couple of years, targeting and tracking has become a lot more difficult with privacy-oriented changes that are limiting the types of identifiers that can be used to target and track ads. And so we wanted to get a sense for what CPG shoppers are really looking for in the ads they see online. And so when asked if they had to see an ad for the following product types online, which of the following would be their preference, the vast majority of respondents wanted ads that were either based on past actions they've taken or related to specific interests or demographics that they shared with others. And less than half in the case of all three product categories just wanted generic ads that appealed to the most people. And a big category-specific call out here is beauty in particular saw the smallest share of folks who wanted just generic ads that appealed to the most people, with just 28% saying that. And that's fairly logical given the fact that different skin colors, different hair types necessitate different product use in the beauty category in particular. So all of this is to say that while it has gotten harder over the past couple of years with different privacy related changes, make sure you're identifying those platforms or identifying those situations in which you can provide the most tailored creative possible. And part of that ties back to that conversation I mentioned earlier of younger generations are more active on TikTok than they are Facebook, and kind of understanding how you might adjust your creative in these different situations to make sure you're putting relevant creative in front of your potential customers. And so just to kind of double back and do a quick summary of all I just kind of blasted through. One, pandemic boosted channels are probably going to slow as folks return to pre-pandemic trends. Two, social media is already hugely important to product discovery across all three of these product categories and beyond. So make sure you're understanding that role for your business. Three, part of that social media journey is certainly influencers who are influencing more and more purchases every day. Four, Amazon and Walmart are both hugely important to strategy on the retail media space, so make sure you're taking advantage. And five, even if privacy is making it more difficult, CPG customers are yearning for ad relevance, so make sure you give it to them. And then I'll give you one sixth key takeaway, which is actually download the report. There's a lot of good stuff in there that I just really couldn't touch on in the course of this quick, conversation today. And we've got a lot of, really fun interactive filters. You can filter through different generations and all of that good stuff once you get in there. So make sure you check out the actual report and go down some of the tracks and see what you find. And with that, I will kick it over to Carrie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. And I love the number 6 takeaway for our audience. You can access the CPG report right now in that pop-up in the bottom left of your screen. If you did minimize it, you can just click that gray bar again and it'll pop up. So we're right at the 15-minute mark, but I will squeeze in one question for Andy. So many great insights. One of the things we've continued to hear from our audience is concerns about, budget this year. If someone is working on a limited budget, what would you say, based on everything you heard about CPG sentiment, are like the top 1 or 2 things that people can do to both appeal to people, but also in an efficient way?
Yeah, I think it goes back to really understanding understanding, again, who you're really marketing to. Obviously, different types of products are going to be, going after different age ranges and demographics, and making sure where, those folks are active, where they're most likely to actually discover new products and ultimately go on to purchase those products. And that's going to vary, again, by product category. So I would say understanding that, and then, piling your dollars into those platforms that make the most sense. Obviously, the big takeaway in the beauty category was that, TikTok far outstripped Facebook in terms of where those folks are actually discovering products. So, obviously, if your market is Gen Z, then you want to make sure you're taking a good hard look at TikTok as you create those budgets for the year ahead.
Awesome, thank you. I know, again, there was so much content in there for our audience. I will drop a link in the chat to access our content hub as well, where you can find more reports, more resources, more guides, and upcoming webinars. Also want to remind everyone that this webinar is part of our 15-minute breakdown series. And so this is monthly. It is either the first or second Thursday of the month. Our next will be the second Thursday in May. But really, this is, again, for us to be able to get awesome insights to our audience within those 15 minutes. Once you are registered, as you all are now, you'll be registered for the whole series. And so keep an eye out for those reminder emails so that you can tune in next month. And our topic in May is retail programmatic your brand. So thank you everyone for joining today. And thank you, Andy, as well, for distilling so many great insights in just 15 minutes. We love being with you all, and we'll see you all next month as well.
Thanks, everyone.